today's lecture we are going to study about decorators in Python. So basically, what are decorators and why do we use them in our programming? So decorator concept is given in Python if we want to decorate our function, like if we want our function to look more clean and better. So for that purpose we use decorators, and in today's video we will see that using examples that how can we decorate our function. So let me just take our function here. I am taking function name code. Def is used to define our function, and here brackets after colon I am going to write the body of our function. So for this function I want to print something, like I want to print that this is my code function. Now you can see that let's just kernel complete. It's just taking some second. Now yeah, it executed successfully. Now if what if I want that I will get to know that either my function is completed or not, or I get to know that this is the start of my function and this is the end of my function. For that purpose we can print it here, like we can simply use the print statement. This is my function start. Now here we defined function start, and here we are going to print that this is our function end. This is function end. Now we have written manually for one function that this is my function start, this is my function end. But what if we want to use these statements for multiple functions, like in if we create hundreds of functions? So how can we write these 100 functions with these lines? So we are doing this work repetitively. So to reduce this manual method, we will use decorators. So let me take another print here, like I am going to take a print statement. So let me just use 45 plus 5. So this is my print statement, and if I run our function here, like I am going to call my function, so you can see that it executed the whole statement for us, that this is my function start, this is my function end, and this whole inside this is the function body. Like this is the function body, and here this is just the print statement which is telling us that this is function start and this function end. So how can we reduce this manual effort by using decorator? So let me just take another function using this function will work as a decorator. So this is also a function, so we have to use def keyword to define this function, and here I am going to use the name of function as decorate. So this is my function name. For this function I am going to pass some parameters, like we have to pass here some function on which we want to apply this decorator. And in this decorator what we want, so in this decorator we want like our print statement, this is function start and print this is function end. Now so basically we have to create another function inside our function using def keyword inner dash decorate. So now what it will do, these print statements we have to initialize in this function. Like here I am going to create this function, and I had to initialize these lines inside our this function. Now I use just tab to get these lines under the def inner decorator function scope. So now these lines are under this function scope. Now it removed the red line error which earlier it was giving here. Like here it was giving a red error that this is not the part of our function. So now it is part of function. Now here we have to call the function. We are here basically going to call the function. Whenever we will use this decorator in our function will basically work inside these lines. At the start of function this line will be printed, and at the end of function this line will be printed. So now if I run it, let me just remove it. Now if I run it, it executes successfully. And let me create another function here, like I'm using def code 1, and I am going to like print here something like I am printing 3 plus 7. So now if I run my code here, code 1, you can see that we are getting simple output here like just 10. So how can we get these print statements above and at the end of our function? So let us see that how can we achieve this. For this purpose we are going to use decorators. So if we want to decorate our function, we are going to use at the rate notation and then the name of our decorate function. This because in this function we are going to pass the function parameter. So here I am going to use decorate. Now you can see that we had decorated our function. Now if I run it and if I run it again, you can see that none time object. Let me just check it that where it is giving the error. So I just checked it. We have also to return this function. So let me just return this function as well because we had not returned any statement. So what will it return? So for this purpose we are going to use return to return the output for our function. Now let me again execute this piece of code, and now again let me execute this piece of code. Now you can see that this line is getting printed at the start of our function which we had used here, and this line is getting printed at the end of our function which we have used here, and in between both of them we are using function. So this is our function output. So now we had seen a very basic example of decorator, that how can we decorate our function. Now whenever we need these lines, so we don't have to write manually all those, we have to just use this decorate function on our function and then it will get decorated using the decorative properties of our Python. So here we are not doing anything special, we are just going to use our decorator function. So basically what we are doing here, that we are let me just use pointer. So we are basically passing our function, this function here. So this function is getting passed in our decorator function and this function is getting called inside this inner function where we are using this function definition. So here our function will be defined, and whatever printed or whatever the functionality we want to implement at the start and end of function, those will be implemented here. So this is a very simple method to decorate our function. Let us see that. Let me just show you some other examples. So let us see another function, like if we want to check that how much time does our function takes to execute or complete. So how can we achieve this using decorator? So let us see that for checking the time we have a module inside our Python using time name. So I am going to use import time. This will import time for us. Now here I am going to define a decorator for time. So decorate dash timer, and in this timer we are going to pass our function. So this is our function, and I am going to create another function inside this. This is our inner dash timer, sorry, inner dash timer, and in this function what we are going to do, we are going to print start and end of function. So I am going to use start is equal to time dot time. Now this will print the time at our start of our function, and I am going to use end here. So end is equal to time dot time. So this will print the end time, but here inside these both we have to pass our function, that for when it will enter this function, first it will start the time, and after the execution of completion of the function, then the end time will be printed. So now we also have to return our function. So I am using return keyword to return our function to get our output, and we also want to print the start and end time, because this will only print the function output what is inside our function, but we also want to print these variables values as well. So I am going to use the print statement here. So how can we get the start and end date time? So we are going to delete end minus start time. So it will basically subtract the ending time from the start, and it will give us the exact time of our function. Now I had just executed it, and let me create another function of using code 2. And now I am going to like print something. Let me just use 45 multiplied by 45. Now if we run it, we are going to get a simple output using, because we are just using the print statement here, we are not decorated our function, so we are getting our output. So how can we decorate our function? So we have to just call our function as we had called earlier, and at the above our function we are going to use at the rate of, and then we have to call our decorator. So this is our function decorator. So decorator dash timer. Now we had called our decorator function, and here let me just check what is error here. So yeah, let me no, I don't have to call it here, I have to decorate it here where we are going to define the function. So let me just decorate it here. So now if we run it, now this our function is getting decorated, and if I run this statement again, now we are going to get our start and end time of our function, that at what time. So here we had seen basic examples of decorators and how can we use it. So that's it for today. We had just got a basic overview about how can we use decorators and how can we define our decorator. So that's it for today. Please try to practice around it and use different combinations and permutations to get better understanding around decorator. So that's for today. Bye, see you in next lecture.